everyone and welcome to a new series that I'm going to be doing. It's a telephone system within Laravel using Twilio as the integration for inbound and outbound telephone calls. So what I've done is take a code pen that I found that has some basic UI that we're going to then turn into an inbound and outbound telephone system. So as you can see, there is some issues with it in terms of the UI, which we will fix throughout this series. And on top of that, we're going to link in actual calling features with this UI and inbound calls as well. And then maybe we can expand on it in the future, but all I really want to achieve with this little series is basic telephone inbound and outbound system with Twilio, help you get Twilio set up, and then you can go away and integrate it and expand on it however you want. So as you can see, I've already gone ahead and set this up within the project. I've created a fresh Laravel project on Laravel 9, set up the HTML, set up the JavaScript, set up the CSS, ready for us to then just jump in and get this modified and integrated with Twilio. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create a Twilio account. I've gone ahead and created a trial account, and I've got some trial credits on there as well, which you will also get if you create your trial account. And as mentioned, I have took this from CodePen, so I'm going to link this in the description so that you can also take this if you want to integrate it into your system or tweak it or create your own. Yeah, that's totally up to you in terms of what you want to do. So the first thing we're going to need to do is populate our .env within our fresh Laravel project. I've gone ahead and created some variables already, and that's Twilio account SID, auth token, TWIML app SID, caller ID, app key and app token. So we're going to want to first get these set up within our project in preparation for then integrating with Twilio entirely. So the first thing we need to do is get the account SID, and we get this from the console on the Twilio dashboard. So I just need to find that account SID on the console. So if we refresh, I think I was being blind, yep, being blind, it's at the bottom. So we just put that there in our .env file. I will avoid putting my auth token and so on in the env on recording because I don't want my credentials to obviously be exposed. They're quite secret, so we'll leave them secret and do them off camera, but I'm sure you'll be able to find those as well. So the next thing we're going to want to do is buy a phone number, which we can do with our trial credits. So we're going to manage phone numbers and buy a new phone number, and what I'm going to do is actually buy an 0115 number because that's my local area code, so it just seems logical to buy a number with my local area code. So as you can see, we've got an 0115 number here, Nottingham, England GB, so we're going to go ahead and buy this as an individual making and receiving the calls, and we need to assign an address. Obviously I haven't created one as of yet because I've only just created the Twilio account. And I'm back. So I've purchased the phone number and I've just done a short cut there just so you don't see me creating the address and so on and see my home address. So we've gone ahead and purchased the number, and what we next need to do is configure the number. So you can grab the number from the top once you've purchased it, or obviously on the purchase screen or when you're choosing the number, and we'll put that into our Twilio caller ID in the env, and we need a plus at the start of that as well. We need to configure the application, or the number even, with a TWIML app. However, at this point we haven't created a TWIML app, so let's go ahead and create that as well. So you'll go into TWIML apps on the left hand side and create a new TWIML app. We need to put a URL in to post our voice inbound and outbound to, but at the minute we haven't set up any routes on our application, so we're just going to create the TWIML app so we can get the SID to put in the .env variable. So now we've got our TWIML app created. The next step is actually grabbing that SID for the .env variable as I've already mentioned, so we'll grab that and put that into our .env. We do need to, like I say, create the request URL and use something like ngrok, but we'll set up ngrok this episode and then put the URL in towards the end as well. So we're just going back to our number now, and we need to manage that and actually set it to use the TWIML app. So what you do is go back into active numbers, manage, configure the number and set it to TWIML app and the TWIML app that you have created. Once that's saved, which it should do straight away, yep. So we'll go back into active numbers and then we'll just double check that it has actually saved as the TWIML app. You can get the phone number SID as well if you ever need to use that for the Twilio API, but for now we just want it to use TWIML app, and that's perfect for us. So next let's create some API keys and tokens. I need to put in my password and then I'm going to cut and create an API token just so you don't see any of my credentials. And you can also get your account SID here and your test credentials SID as well. So I'm going to do a cut and I'll be back once I've created an API key. I'm back. So I've created my API key and token within Twilio, put that into my .env, and now it's time to get ngrok set up. What ngrok does in a summary is serve our local files onto a live URL, allowing us to use it as if it was a live hosted website. This will help for Twilio because it needs to post to a live URL, and it will redirect to our local URL, our local files, allowing us to debug the application whilst we're also integrating with Twilio. So what I need to do is sign up to ngrok, and then I will be back once I've signed up. So now I've got my ngrok server started. We've got the live URL that's on the ngrok server, and it's pointing to our local host port 80. If you do need further information on how to set up ngrok, I'm more than happy to provide that to you as well. And then if we visit that live URL on ngrok, we can see it's actually serving our local Laravel application. So what we need to do next is modify our TWIML application within Twilio to actually use this live URL from ngrok. Remember though, every time you stop and start ngrok, it will give a new URL which you then have to put into Twilio. We need to put this in the voice request URL, and I think if we go with API call managing, oh no, call routing, yeah, let's go with call routing. So if we set that to API call routing, which is a route we haven't created yet, and then what we'll do is create that in a later episode to then handle the inbound and outbound call routing. So now we've got ngrok serving our local application on a live URL. The next thing we need to do is install the Twilio SDK. So all you need to do is put that into your Ubuntu command line, a standard composer install or require, and then it will install Twilio SDK. So now we've got the Twilio SDK installed. So we don't need to do anything else on that front, but what we do need to get installed next is the JavaScript SDK, because we're going to be utilizing this to connect on the browser to make outbound calls and accept inbound. Currently Twilio doesn't allow CDNs anymore, but what it does say is if you go to the releases on the GitHub repository, we can grab the Twilio JavaScript from there and we can actually put that in our application itself. So what I've gone ahead and done is download the source code from GitHub, and I've put that into the application in the JavaScript folder in public. So as you can see, I've got twilio.min.js, and that's just a Twilio file. Obviously if you're doing this in a production app and not a tutorial, you would do it through npm as such. So now we've got Twilio sorted and installed from a JavaScript perspective as well as a PHP package perspective. So that brings us towards the end of this tutorial. We obviously need to create the API route next to handle inbound and outbound calls, but we also then need to do the routing for the access token and connect on the front end of the application so that an agent can accept and make an outbound call. So next episode what we're going to do is focus on the JavaScript SDK and getting that all linked up from a front end and client perspective, potentially modify some of the UI as well, get that working how we want it to work, and we'll go from there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it's been basic and only focusing on kind of setting up as such, but it kind of sets a precedence for going forward, and we've got all the application now set up. And as mentioned previously, I am going to be continuing the chat application as well alongside this. So yeah, please leave a like, a thumbs up, and hopefully I can get the next episode out ASAP for you. Thank you for watching.